That's going to do it. The Kings in a sluggish start, but not unexpected start. The Kings coming off of the All-Star break. They win 127-122. They let the Spurs hang around a little bit longer than you'd like to see, but that's all right. It is a Kings victory. The beam is lit. Hey, it's been like a week or something like that since we've gotten together. So I want to hear from you guys. Use the QR code right there at the top of the chat. Make sure you use that as well. Call the show. Want to get you in on it tonight. This is the Kings Postgame Show on If You Don't Like That.
3, 2, 1, go.
Sacramento miscue. Carter. Stolen by Williams. And look at this. Oh, you don't like that. You don't like NBA basketball. Fox. Goodbye. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball. The exclamation point from De'Aaron Fox. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
Boy, that's an ESPN highlight right there. Whoa. Carlson comes in. How about this? Holy moly, Jim Bob Foley. That was a major league smush.
Welcome back into the Kings postgame show on If You Don't Like That. I am Ryan in Sacktown taking you home tonight. The Kings win 127-122. We look at the final numbers. Look, here's what happened tonight, everybody. The Kings came out and they did what they do on most nights. They let, or the opponent, I'm not going to say let, but the numbers tell you the Kings are the worst team in the NBA at defending the three-point line. But the Kings let the Spurs come out, a Spurs team that is the worst three-point shooting team in the league. And they shoot almost 80% through the first quarter. However, they cool off, but it gives them confidence that carries throughout the game. The important thing here tonight is the Kings get it done, because the next few games coming up for this Kings team, starting against the Clippers, it's going to be brutal. It's going to be a tough stretch. Look, a lot to like about tonight. Kevin Huerter, great to see him get going. But how about De'Aaron Fox down the stretch? Domantas Sabonis, my goodness. What else can you say about him? He is just having a special year. So we can talk about their individual statistics and such, but I want to hear from you guys. So we're going to get right to the phones. We go to our man who celebrates the wins with the arms in the air. Condog, welcome to the show.
I celebrate how I ride roller coasters.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to the show. What's going on?
Well, wasn't a pretty win tonight, but I will take it. And as I'm looking right now, the Warriors are up 113-98 on the Lakers. Mm-hmm. So that's going to knock the Lakers down a bit. And Clippers just lost to OKC. And we play them coming up in 2 days or 3 days. Right after the Heat game. I know that. And I got a bet. I actually have a bet with a coworker on that game right now. For Clippers Kings. So
yeah, we'll talk about the stretch here in a few minutes. They've got a brutal stretch coming up, but
it was just, bounce back from All-Star game. I mean, teams rested, but I expect a little sluggishness because there's such a thing as too much rest, and I think that may have happened a bit here.
Yeah, well, it's you saw it on both sides. I mean, the first quarter was very slow, and it's to be expected in a game like this where both teams are coming off the All-Star break. So that's not the big deal to me. The big deal to me is the way the Kings finished. I mean, you don't want them to allow a team like the Spurs with 6 wins to hang around as long as they did, and you don't like some of the statistical categories, rebounds, things like that, because the Spurs, they're just not good in those areas, yet they competed with the Kings there tonight. But at the end of the day, the Kings win.
Well, we actually did have trouble with this team last year. I was at the game. It was the 3:00 game. Jerry was at the game too. where
Yeah.
we could have clinched the playoffs, but
Yep.
we lost it at home, and fans went to Portland to go watch us clinch the playoffs. So we do kind of struggle with this team, even though they are one of the worst teams in the league.
Yes, we do. This is true. Condog, thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it.
Right.
All right. That is Condog getting in on the action. If you would like to call the Kings post-game show, we'd love to have you. Just scan that code on the screen. Also, the link to join is in the chat. Yeah, the Spurs did beat the Kings last season. This makes the second win of the year for the Kings against the Spurs. You remember earlier this year, the Kings struggled against the Spurs. A game that the Spurs had the biggest lead of 6 at one point. The Kings 11. What I meant to say off the bat, the game was tied 10 times, 10 lead changes too. So the fact again that the Kings bounce back, Domantas Sabonis, he was doubtful coming into last night, doubtful, and then comes into shoot around today, participates. He's a big nap guy, if you don't know this. So woke up from his nap, felt good enough to go through warm-ups. Warm-ups felt good. He finished these things out: 22 points, 11 assists, 11 rebounds. Give him another triple-double. What are you going to say about that? Then you've got De'Aaron Fox, 28 points tonight. 9 assists. Now, De'Aaron had 6 assists in the first half, and he really picked that area up for Sabonis. And you notice the Kings in the second half focused heavily inside the paint where they needed to focus. I've put this statistic out numerous times this last 3 or 4 days. The Kings are the 4th in the NBA. They are the 4th best team in the NBA at 2-point percentage. 2-point percentage, mid-range, in the paint, whatever you want to call it. They are 27th in the NBA in attempts. So the Kings need to go to that well more often. There is plenty of water in that well. So Sabonis, I think part of this run he has been on, besides the fact that he is just a machine, it's been that. He has been getting you screen assists that don't show up in the categories. He's been getting those rebounds. He's been getting the assists. So he's been getting the points in the paint. So it's just what you want to see. Keegan Murray, 16 points. So you get 4 starters in double digits. Keegan, he's dealing with some bruises coming off the All-Star break. He barely played in the Rising Stars game, so that his team was eliminated in the first round of that tournament. So look for him to hopefully have bounced back. You're going to need him for the games that are coming up, and we'll get to those in a few minutes. By the way, take a second, if you haven't already, please subscribe to Grant's YouTube channel, and thank you to all of those that are already subscribed. You just put them over 7K. So we really appreciate it. I know Grant appreciates it. He will be back on our next game. He should be back. So we look forward to that. And then also do me a favor, go check out my new podcast, The King's Court. You can find it on any podcast carrier. It is your only daily Kings Insider podcast, and it's short form, get you out under 10 minutes every single day. Go check that out. I think you'll like it a lot. So, hey, I want to get you guys in on the action tonight on the calls, but I also want to get to your comments. I haven't gotten to your written comments. So what are your thoughts on this first game back from the All-Star break? Look, a win is a win. That's the way I'm taking it. But defending the three-point line, what are these guys going to do? Yeah, I appreciate it. The King's Court is now in session. That's right. That's exactly it. No problem, Johnny. I appreciate you letting me know. So, anyways, Kings tonight. Wemby. Let's get to this. Good comment, Dirk. Wemby is the brightest green light to shoot anything I've ever seen. Yeah. It's changed though a lot since the first half of the season. San Antonio has shifted what they do offensively, and it's worked out a little better, although their record does not show it at the moment. Let's get to Egan. Egan, welcome to the Kings postgame show. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. Kings got to win.
Yes, indeed. Kings got to win.
Yeah, I got a question about the Kings. I've been a Kings fan my whole life, and I just feel like the Kings always why did that game have to be that hard? You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
the Kings have always been this team that's like, what do you think is what we need to take it to the next level?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Egan. I think the first thing you have to point to, Kyle Draper said it on the telecast, and I don't agree whatsoever. He said Mike Brown is settled into a rotation on the bench. He hasn't. He's got two guys. He's got Malik Monk and Trey Lyles. So
Right?
that's
Yeah.
that's the first thing when you talk about the Kings. They should be beating teams like this. It shouldn't be that close. Here's the other thing. Coming into tonight, the Kings net average was only half of a point. A lot of the teams, most of the teams in the top 6 right now in each conference, they're much better than that. They're at least 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it tells you, the Kings are 15. I did a Kings court on this 2 days ago. Before tonight's game, the Kings, when they win, they were 15.4 points better than their opponent. On nights when they lose, it's 15.4 too. So that's a big swing. And last year it was 15.3. So I can't put my finger on exactly what it is besides depth. Anything you notice specifically?
I think you're hit the nail on the head. It's the depth. Like when the Kings were good in the early 2000s, they had a lot of depth. They had Bobby Jackson, they had Brad Miller, like Scott Pollard, guys coming off of the bench, giving that, like guys got to hit shots. That's the thing is like the Kings, the way they play, they depend
Yeah.
on those guys to make those shots. And sometimes I feel like they miss the wide open shots. And then the guys we're playing against, it's like they seem like all stars, they're like, because obviously we don't have a defense. So you have to, you have to make all your shots,
Yeah, you do. And that's it. Mike Brown talked about free throws. Free throws matter,
Oh, for
obviously. And as
sure.
you come
Yeah.
when you come down the stretch, the Kings are gonna have to be better. I'm the percentage I don't worry about as much because I think it's more of a mental thing with them. But what I do worry about is like free throws in general, attempts. They're down 19.6% this season. That's a lot when you're going into the playoffs, when every point matters. And there's other stats similar to that. So that's one reason. But I think you bring up another good reason with the shooting as well. Egan, thank you for the call, my man. You
Hey,
killed it.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Love what you guys.
Appreciate it.
It's awesome.
Oh, sorry. Cut you off.
I said I love your guys' show, you and Grant. I live in Texas now, but I
Oh,
born and
cool.
raised in Sacramento, and it's an awesome thing, It's really cool what you guys are doing. I appreciate it.
Love it, man. Well, thank you for letting us know, and I appreciate the love from Texas. That is awesome. You guys, you're worldwide. If I do a check-in, it comes too fast. I miss too many countries. If you want to be like Egan and join the show, you can use that QR code right there. The Kings are a jump shooting team, as are many teams in the NBA. So yeah, if the shot's not falling, it's certainly going to affect their performance on a nightly basis. Let me tell you, though, there is one place where performance is never affected, and that is Bennett's Westside Grill in Rockland. That's their newest location. You know about the other two in Roseville and then Howe and Fair Oaks in Sacramento. We talk about the steak, we talk about the seafood, but hey, you got to go check out their website. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com and see some of the things you don't know about, like their happy hour special. There's 60 different wines by the glass. The fact that they can cater huge to-go orders. They have private dining rooms if your office is getting together. So I could go on for days. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com for more information. Grant, myself, Jerry. We love our Bennetts and we appreciate all of you. And we appreciate Brian Bennett. But we appreciate all of you who go in there and tell us how good it is and report back. So thank you so much for that. Let's get back to the written chat. I know we were talking about Wemby. Egan got in. You know what? Written chat? No, we're going to bring in our guy, Chang. Chang, how you doing tonight?
Doing good, Ryan. And again, great win. Or
Yes.
any win's a great win,
Well,
but concerning. Honestly, I'm a stats guy, just looking at the stats, and man, our 3-point defense has gotten worse. You look at January, February, it's above 40%. Add that with we can't hit free throws, and I think you just understand why our net rating is just so poor. You know, we allow teams to come back through 3-point shooting, and when the games get tight, teams are going to foul us. Can we make our free throws? And it's just concerning. It's, again, I'll give this team a mulligan for tonight, but the next stretch of games when they're playing tougher opponents, I don't know. I guess it's odd because I just felt like last year's team didn't have this free throw issue, and they were, maybe not the best 3-point defense, but I felt like it wasn't as jarring as this time around. And do you feel like they could turn it around?
Yeah. Well, can they turn it around? So to answer your question, I think they can with the 3-point defense. I really do. It's not, sorry about that. Didn't mean for that one to go up. Sorry, Peter. Katie appreciates it. I think the Kings could do a few things there. I think part of that's approach. I think part of that scheme, but I also think what Mike Brown said, closing out too many times, the Kings closeouts are half-ass. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They're half-ass. And the reason they're half-ass isn't an effort thing. It's because the Kings are a step behind on the rotation. So they're already going to be late. It's, try to get out there. It's pull one of those tricks out of your book, like you're going to hit them in the stomach and you don't. It's those kinds of things. So that can be addressed. But, De'Aaron Fox, I'm going to use him as an example. The Kings need to use their physical attributes more as an advantage on the court. His length is a great example. Yet, if you listen to the Kings court I did today, I talked about the amount of guys. There's 12 guys in the NBA that are shooting over 37.9% this season against De'Aaron, personally against De'Aaron, while he's defending. And that's all guys that have a minimum of 4 attempts. So if the Kings can clean that up, it's going to make a huge difference, Chang.
Yeah, I'm just individually, I feel like we have good defenders with De'Aaron, Keegan, and honestly, Sabonis. I think his verticality is great. And I just feel that 3-point shooting is just going to bite us. And we just need to lock it down. And I feel like that's one of the few things. And I'm just giving us until, hopefully make the playoffs. But if they can improve the 3-point defense and free throws, I have confidence that we can actually win a round, because I feel like that's such a big issue with this team. But
yeah, no doubt, Chang. I think you're absolutely right. And it's something they've got to work with what they have this season. And, this team's not a defensive team, so we can't expect them to be, but this team also shouldn't be 30th at defending the 3. Mike Brown said, by the way, Chang, that if they defended the 3 at an average rate, they would be 8th in the NBA defensive rating wise. So I don't know what stats he's looking at. That very well could be true, but think about that. That makes a huge difference for this Kings team if they could move up that high. So, hey, I appreciate the call, Chang. Have a great night, my friend.
no, thanks, Ryan.
Yep, of course. You guys are killing it as always on the phones. Dirk, what's up, buddy? How you doing tonight?
Doing good. Happy with the win.
Yes.
Yeah, just on the topic of defense, I mean, watching the game, like the 2-point defense seems really, really solid, though. I mean, It feels like the Kings are able to defend without fouling. How many bunnies did we see Sochan miss tonight?
It's a good point.
At the hoop. That's the defense showing you something. So for me, I just want to see a theory of 3-point line defense, because in the playoffs, like it felt like the Warrior game, they were blitzing, like we were blitzing all over the floor all the time.
Yeah.
We were everywhere defensively. So for me, it matters to the extent of playoff positioning. We want to see clearly them get a guaranteed spot if they can, but I have no doubt this team is going to have a step up during the playoffs. It's about, can they maintain, like last year, some guys could not shoot the ball at all. So can we, get it together enough to get a guaranteed playoff spot? But I still think we're dangerous in the playoffs. I think once we're in, even if we go to the play-in, I have a lot of confidence this team's going to be able to advance. I don't know how everyone else feels, but I trust our team is going to have a similar showing to last year in the playoffs defensively. So we just got to get there at this point.
Well, they took a big step tonight. I mean, this was, whether you want to admit it or not, this was a classic Kings game that they would lose usually, and especially this season. So that's what they got to do in terms of, if they can be a threat. Here's the thing, Dirk, you've heard Jerry and Grant and I, we've talked about the teams, and you guys, Dirk, you've talked about it at times. The chat's talked about, well, we don't want to see this team in the playoffs. We don't want to see that team in the playoffs. So let's just, for the sake of conversation, assume the Kings are going to be in the playoffs or the play-in, okay? That list may be long for the Kings, but I also think the other teams that the Kings would be matching up against, they would not want to see the Kings either, because of exactly what you said. You don't know what you're going to get on any given night. And, I just feel like if the Kings could take their best nights with what they do when they're shooting the three ball well, Dirk, and then also they can mix that in with what they do sometimes down low, what would the complaint be about this team, Dirk?
Yeah, I mean, good question. I just keep finding those easy buckets. Like Fox was so on tonight. Just finding the Keegan for the alley-oop. He made some really good passes. And I would love to see him be consistent in that 8-9 range here on out. Just kind of keep finding guys for maybe easy buckets. Because it's really that we got our top guys on offense, right? The guys who are consistent. And then you've got just a lot of variability in that second tier, guys who can go for 20 or they can go for 4. And I don't want to have to rely on the 3-pointer, because it can abandon us some games. So if we can just keep finding Keegan streaking, or Herter was on tonight. I mean, that's my only thing that makes me nervous, is just having to rely on the 3 ball so much when we seemingly can get a lot of good buckets around the hoop. But anyway.
Yeah, for sure. And Dirk, this is the challenge, and I'm with you. And this is where I would kick it back to the coaching staff and Mike Brown, because I look at what you said. If you get one of those guys going, Herter, 20 points, Barnes, 25 points, Murray, whatever, you get one of those guys going, that's exactly it. Do the Kings make enough of an effort to get some of those guys going? Harrison, we know, absolutely not. They don't.
They don't.
Keegan, debatable. But Herter, I mean, Herter's not been playing terrible basketball of late, Dirk.
He hasn't, but let's go back to Keegan and see when we're talking about how he's grown this year, that where he gets the ball on a screen and goes and dunks it. Like, that was not in the arsenal last year. He's got a mid-range shot now. So yes, they've developed him. I don't know if you could attribute it to the coaching or not, but he's definitely found his, place there. I think Harrison has lost a step. It's good to see him be more aggressive. I'm kind of believing the theory that the Kings were going to push Keegan Murray offensively for the first half of the year. And then at game 43, they were like, all right, let's, or, like 41 games into the season now, they're letting Harrison Barnes get more of that offense. And it's more balanced now. He didn't do much tonight.
Yeah.
I would like to see us get Harrison Barnes going again, because he's got that Euro step move that I think he could generate free throws, or points almost not at will. I mean, he misses some easy shots around the hoop sometimes, but it would be nice to see that as an option going into the playoffs again. So hopefully we just keep seeing more everything from this team leading up, because we got this tough stretch. So we're going to need to find something new to beat the Clippers, for example. So
Yeah, I'm with you, Dirk. That's going to be a big game for this team, because if you look at the teams in the Western Conference, and the Clippers are who's next, and they kick off the first of a back-to-back, they probably are the worst matchup for the Kings. So I want to see how they do. The Clippers, I think they're going to be good this year. So that's going to be a big game for the Kings. But everything you said, spot on, my friend.
all right, have a good one.
All right, thanks, Dirk. Very, very good stuff from Dirk. All correctable stuff. It is, in some degrees, it seems simple, but for whatever reason, this team sometimes struggles with the simple things. So anyways, Alex, what's up, man? How you doing? Kings win.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing great.
Awesome. Glad. Want to say again, thank you again for doing this show. A bunch of us just really enjoy it. Whether Grant's here or not, you're like Sabonis. You're always here, always getting the rebounds, always putting the show on for us. So just want to say appreciate it.
I appreciate that, Alex. I'm happy to do it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Also, I do want to say that I am happy about the win, but I have within like the last month and a half, I've not significantly, but I have lowered my expectations for the Kings, and not dramatically, but I do think for us fans, we went through 17 years of obviously turmoil with the Kings. Last year was all of us were on cloud nine because we made the playoffs, right? Including me. We're putting everything just super happy about it. And I think this year we expected an even bigger jump, you know what I mean? Which wasn't necessarily, I guess, realistic looking back, just because a lot of the teams obviously got better, got healthier. We kind of stayed the same. And I think with even the defense that we run, I think that's the theme of today's show is defense, right? Everybody's talking about defense. I don't think we have the personnel that Mike Brown wants to his scheme that works with it, because obviously if you look at the game, every time we're always blitzing, and our team is not slow. I mean, it's not fast or athletic enough to rotate. It's always blitz, somebody's open for a three, blitz, cut, layup. And again, that's nothing against our team, but I don't think we have the personnel that Mike needs to run that type of defense, or I think run something totally different, maybe some type of zone. But what we run, I don't think it's realistic to think that we're going to just stop a bunch of teams doing that same defense that we run. That being said, when we shoot, we can beat anybody, but of course we could lose to anybody. I thought we were going to lose today at one point, but I think now what I think we should do is just kind of sit back, enjoy the wins we do get. If we're in the play-in or playoffs, enjoy it. And if, let's say, we get eliminated in the first round, yeah, that would suck because of last year, or the plan, that would be catastrophic. But obviously then we would need, bigger upgrades. If we somehow just shot lights out, went to the Western Conference Finals, that'd be fantastic. But I do think a lot of us should take a deep breath and realize, hey, the West got better. We stayed the same. We're not NBA champion material right now. We have good pieces, but, just kind of enjoy what we got right now. We're still in the mix. Yeah, of course, we should have beat this team by a lot more. Personnel is just not there. I think we should just enjoy the victories as they come. I'm not trying to bring the show down, but just saying from a more realistic point of view.
No, Alex, I love it, actually. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of people that if the Kings, let's say they make the play-in and they get bounced, I think there's going to be some heat on Monty McNair, right?
Yeah.
Because of the depth that we've kind of talked about throughout the show and the defense. I think if the Kings make if they are a 6 seed or higher, regardless of what they do in the playoffs, I'm with you. It's been a successful season.
Yeah.
Again, 6 teams have already passed what the Kings did last year offensively, and they were the best in the history of the NBA in offensive rating. But you bring up a really good question about the personnel versus the scheme. There was an interesting point. Did you see Monty McNair's press conference after the trade deadline?
I did. Yes.
Okay. There was an interesting point in the press conference where Monty was talking about, he was asked if, where's the priority? Is it offense or defense?
Mhm.
And for the first time in the Mike Brown era, it seemed like maybe they weren't on the same page.
Okay, and I did notice that too. I talked to my buddies in the group chat about it a lot of times when things like that happen, or a bad loss, or just in general. And we were kind of thinking like, hey, we didn't necessarily say that. We thought, hey, is Mike Brown on the hot seat because they don't seem to see eye to eye right now, or something going on? We were kind of thinking that kind of stuff, which of course I don't think he is on the hot seat per se, but yeah, no, that's definitely true. There might be some disagreements going on right now. Of course, like I said, I truly do think, because since Mike Brown's a supposed defensive guy, I'm sure he's frustrated by our worst 3-point defense in the NBA. Our laps. He takes timeouts all the time in the beginning of the games because he's mad. But I really do think he doesn't have the personnel he needs, and he's trying to force his scheme for guys like Sabonis and Herter, who are laterally really slow, even Keegan to an extent. So it's crazy to me that we're constantly blitzing, and we wonder why there's always a backdoor layup or a wide open three, and we're trying to chase and run and try to hack it to stop the three, but it never happens because the scheme, the personnel isn't there. So that's why I'm always thinking, why don't we run like a zone? Because we're trying to force this crazy, double
Yeah.
screening scheme. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the middle. So I don't think, and I want to be clear with everybody. I'm not saying there's a rift in the front
Yeah.
office and the coaching staff. But the thing that I'm kind of questioning when it comes to like really what the future of this team is, it's not so much scheme. I think that Mike Brown and they know what they want to do,
Yeah.
right? I just feel like this team's they're trigger shy. They're trigger shy to pull they're just a little shy to be proactive rather than reactive. And I wonder, because the way they're set up now, their window is nice. Their window's
Yeah.
really good. You only have to worry about Malik Monk coming back next year, and the Kings will have the money to pay him if they want. But yeah, I wonder if they couldn't have made more of this window, I guess. Giving them the pieces they needed to at least be somewhat more competitive with whatever this team was going to be this year.
No, I totally agree. And I just think next year, and I'm not trying to look past this year already, but I don't think we're going to win the title. I don't think you think we're going to win it either. I think next year, we definitely need to add length and athleticism, whether if it's trying to grab Rui or Vanderbilt from the Lakers. I'd take either one. They're both long, lanky, athletic.
Yeah.
I'll take either
They have
one
to
right
be
now.
available.
Yeah. But
Lori,
I
I'm
mean,
with you there.
because who's our lanky guy, our long lanky guy that can match up? Is it Edwards? And he hardly ever plays. You know what I mean? We don't have a guy that's like that can match up. So I hope we can grab one of those guys or another, long lanky guy, just to at least put in the rotation. Because right now we're kind of small and unathletic. So I mean that's where our lapses come from. But I'm just happy about the win. Again, appreciate you
I'm
having
with
me
you.
on, Ryan, and have a
Of
good one, man.
course. Yeah, thanks, Alex. I know we kind of got in the weeds there and got off track, and I got a little off track because I had to think about how I was going to say it. But Alex brings up a good point. The Kings are, in this sense, I'm going to break it down to this level. The Kings are in a difficult position because we know they cannot guard people one-on-one. They just allow straight line drives to the rack, yet they can't defend the 3-point line either. So which one's it going to be? Are you going to give up an open three and not let people drive? Or are you going to defend the three and make them drive? It can't be both. It's got to be one in the other, or one or the other. Let's see. We're not doing anything this year because the front office didn't do their. No, I disagree, Larry. I do. Job making trades. that we got to look forward to. Yeah, well, here's where I disagree, Larry. People aren't, and Monty talked about this in the press conference, people aren't looking at the CBA that goes into effect this year, this new operating year for the NBA. So after this season, and the way the Kings are positioned, what was on the market and available. And let's make no mistake, the Kings they actively went after Pascal Siakam, actively went after him. That did not work because he didn't want to come here. Okay. So then the rest of the options that were available, you would have overpaid for. You would have overpaid. I'm with you, Carv. I'll stop my rant for this. Yeah. Yep. 27 more. You would have overpaid for him. So those players that weren't available wouldn't have taken this team over the top. So stay put. Stay put. Don't overpay. Now, if the Kings passed up a great opportunity to get better at not, give me an example, I guess. Give me an example of who you feel like they should have or they passed up on at these trade deadlines that they should have gotten realistically, and how the team would have looked without or with the additions and without the players they would have lost. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Donald. They did clear up space. So let me explain this to everybody, Donald. I'm glad you brought this up. So here's what this move was. If you're wondering about the Keon Ellis move, the Keon Ellis move was because Keon was on a two-way contract, which makes him ineligible to play in the playoffs. So the Kings had to get him onto a full-time roster contract. Now, what the Kings did with acquiring Lopez and the cash considerations, now that cash consideration is what likely is offsetting the raise that Keon got. So that is what the move was about and why the Kings did that at the break. And so that's where I credit the Kings for moves like that. That's smart. It's prudent. They did the same on draft day. They moved back and they got the exact guy they wanted, but they got him in the second round and they could use an exception on him and his salary. So yeah, it makes sense. Look, the bottom line about this Kings team this year is they're a year older, right? So that means they've been together. I'm with you, Zach. I'm with you. That's why I'm saying, if you guys want to give me an example, and I can give you a couple of examples if you'd like, because I do have a couple of examples. All right. So here we go. We're starting to get some examples. Corinthian players for me: Mitchell, Ellis, Edwards, Monk, Lyles. If he's consistent, okay, we're kind of on the same track. All right, we're talking about rotations there. All right, so going back to Zach, yeah, I'm with you. Monty has made smart moves all along for this team. He really has. But the guys that I would say, like a Josh Hart, a backup point guard, that is a guy I would have went after. There was a couple big guys last year that the Kings could have gotten very, very cheap. A guy I would have gone after this year, Dennis Schroeder. I would have gone after Dennis Schroeder. You could have, sure, his contract, you don't love it, but you're not in it long term. But it would have given you, look, how much different, and go with me here, if you had a reliable third scorer off the bench, it doesn't have to be somebody crazy, but even somebody like a Dennis Schroeder. You throw him in with Monk, you throw him in with Lyles, you're doing all right. So, anyways, Kings win tonight. We're being a little bit critical, but that's okay. That's what we do as Kings fans. We got to talk about it. But hey, look, they move on to the Clippers. That one's coming up on Sunday. We look to see what comes out of the Kings camp. If Sabonis, his illness clears up, he obviously played tonight. Another triple-double, an amazing performance on his behalf. De'Aaron Fox, clutch. Kevin Huerter, amazing. Just a great all-around game. And as a Kings fan, I personally have to say this felt more like an old-style Kings win from last year, in a sense that there were big moments, right? Like De'Aaron had to hit a couple shots. There's the big three. You've got Keegan, the dunks. You've got the crowd getting up out of their seats. That felt like Kings basketball. So it was good to see that back and to see a little spark in those guys' eyes. So, hey, don't forget, if you haven't already, please subscribe to Grant's YouTube channel. And if you already are subscribed, thank you all so much that are. You just made him pass 7,000 followers. He appreciates it very, very much. So, hey, we will be back maybe tomorrow. We'll see. I might do an open forum show. I got to check with Grant. I know his schedule is a little bit hectic right now, and he will be back, I believe, on Sunday for the Clippers game. But I might do an open forum show. It'll be fun. Go check out. I'll have an all-new episode of the King's Court tomorrow morning. King's Court with Ryan in Sacktown. Daily short form Kings Insider podcast, and it's free. It's anywhere where you find your podcasts. So go check that out. And remember, don't forget about our friends at Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Go check them out. The Kings win tonight. They down the San Antonio Spurs, and they get ready for the next 27 games. As Karf said earlier, 1 down, 27 to go. Have a great night, Kings fans. Light the beam.